Hey, Scott Jordan and Mark Warner here for Jancast number 107 for Thursday, September 9th. You know, the last show I commented about was the end of August, and now we're already on September 9th. This is just crazy.
It's amazing how the time is flying when you're having fun. And what fun we've been having in the last week or so.
That's for sure. That's for sure. Boy, where do we start, right?
Yeah, I mean, beyond the Delta variant and all the COVID stuff, now we got Mother Nature taking another swing at us with storms.
Yeah, just when we thought supply chain issues were going to go away, maybe we got this one on top of everything else. So we got Ida causing havoc, killing people. It's damage amazing. Estimates.
43 people killed. I think that's just US alone. I think some people died before it crossed the Gulf down in the Caribbean, so that would add to that total. But the US damage estimate is staggering. Like, it's staggering. It's higher than the gross national profit of a lot of third world countries. You know, it's in the 80 to 90 billion dollar range of damage estimates. And Louisiana got hit pretty hard.
Yep, real bad.
That didn't leave us out.
Lots of flooding around here. For those of you that haven't seen the stuff in Philadelphia in this market, it's been, boy, we were really hammered. Never seen so much rain. Our Schuylkill Expressway going through Philadelphia the water was up to the top of the bottom of the bridge.
There were cars underwater, and the Vine Street Expressway, which crosses Philadelphia kind of below street level, was you could have submerged an 18-wheeler in there and not seen the top of it.
And just to be Philadelphia-like, we had people in inner tubes floating down the Schuylkill River along with all the feces and everything else. People jumping off of bridges like they're on a weekend in the nice pristine water. I mean, I couldn't believe it. The guy in the inner tube.
Yeah, no, that is crazy.
That's just asking for trouble.
The other side of it was the wind that it kicked up. I mean, it had literally kicked up 7 documented tornadoes in New Jersey and Pennsylvania. They weren't gigantic tornadoes except for one, but there was an EF3 that hit in Mullica Hill, New Jersey.
Yeah, Mullica Hill, New Jersey, which is right over the bridge.
It literally did one of those deals like you see in the Midwest, where it cut a little path through a development, and those homes in the middle of the path were just completely devastated.
Yeah, and the ones to the side or not on that line were perfectly fine. That's the worst. If you're in that neighborhood, what do you do when your neighbor's house is completely destroyed and yours just by miracle didn't even get touched?
Tornadoes baffle me. I don't know if you noticed like the pictures, but like the whole house was like torn apart from the wind. And yet there were still shoes stacked in a shoe rack and not one shoe was missing. It's like, how does it lift the whole house and not lift a shoe? But I've seen pictures like that of hurricanes in the Midwest too. And the crazy thing is apparently that's not the last one. So you tell me.
We got Larry's out, and the only thing good about this one is Larry is out in the middle of the Atlantic Ocean, and it's going to be coming up up north. It'll be Thursday and Friday off in New Jersey, and then quickly moves up to Nova Scotia, like most of these hurricanes do in a fairly fast period of time. So hopefully it's not going to turn. And the only thing good out of it is we'll probably get some good surf, but that's not. With all the damage and everything, it's kind of hard to think positive about that. But.
For the record, everybody, prior to this broadcast, Scott was already talking about getting his board out for the waves that Larry was creating, just for the record.
Yeah, what did I say? In New Jersey, everybody and their brother, when a hurricane's coming up, as long as it's not going to land right in your town, people that haven't surfed in 30 years pull their boards out of the attic, and they, a lot of potential heart attacks going on out there. People that shouldn't be even going in the water, let alone on a surfboard.
I've heard you say like some of these people do it, like they dust it off and pull it down. I haven't used it in 10 years. You think they're going to have a heart attack just walking across the beach before they get to the water, right?
Yeah,
So
yeah.
kind of funny. But the good news is Larry isn't going to impact
No.
Louisiana, and Louisiana, that impact has some obviously beyond the damage. There were financial repercussions related to the supply chain.
Yeah, yeah. I hadn't really thought about it, but so you see all those things on the news where they're sending all the electric trucks. There's like a convoy of electric trucks going down to fix all the wires that are down. Well, the same thing's true in this case. FEMA is sending all the supplies down in addition to those electronic, to fixing all the wires and everything. And apparently they pay a higher rate for shipping under these circumstances. So every truck driver or every truck, I guess, that's available will go with a FEMA job. So everything's going to Louisiana. So that means we're out of trucks for regular shipments for 2 or 3 weeks. I hadn't really thought about it.
I remember you telling me that they pay what, 3 to 4 times the rate?
Yeah.
Like that. So yeah, that's where the trucks are going to be going. So much for the Jansan supply chain, I suppose.
Yeah, well, and then the main impact, I think, in Louisiana was on the oil refineries that do the gasoline production. So gasoline prices are going to go up, but as we discussed during our sales meeting this morning, a lot of companies kind of take advantage of the situation and probably raising prices anyway, even if the stuff they're raising isn't produced in the Louisiana area, unfortunately. Yeah. So yeah, the prices will continue to go up. Supply chain issues with trucking and everything else is even worse. And then, Mark, you found an article about the sea of container ships.
Yeah, well, actually, credit where credit's due. Mel Dean brought it to our attention, and we were talking about that earlier today. Normally in off of LA and Long Beach, which are the 2 largest West Coast ports, about 1/3 of the imports come in through those 2 ports off of California. And normally there's such an aggressive and efficient ports. Normally there's like 1 ship waiting out at sea because all the docks are taken up. Well, right now there's a record 44 container ships out sitting in the Pacific Ocean waiting for docks to open up. And a lot of reasons for it. Part of it is the COVID issue and the labor shortage and new protocols with COVID. And it takes longer to unload a ship when you have less people doing it. And the ships are bigger than they used to be. So all of those things, I guess, are contributing to the fact that what we're hearing is that what used to take maybe a month to come over from China is like 30 days longer now because of the issues related to maybe them getting loaded and then getting offloaded once they get to the US. So they're adding like 30 days to what would normally be an assumption of 30 days. So that's as much as 2 months instead of 1.
And the cost is considerably higher too. So not only is it delayed, and then if you think down the line, all the container ships that are stuck out there floating around for 40 days or 30 days or whatever, they can't then go back to where they came from, either with our stuff from the US going that way. So they can't come back with stuff until they get over there. So there's probably going to be a trickle down effect of even worse.
What I was fascinated by was the statistic you gave me earlier, because it really drives it home for folks who don't really get how big a ship is and how much is on it. There's 1,000 trailers for a tractor trailer truck on 1 ship. And if there's 44 ships out there, that's 44,000 trailers for a tractor trailer for deliveries. 44,000 of them with people needing it, and it's here. We just can't get it from the water to the land.
Yeah.
So wow.
So much for getting your Christmas presents early.
Yeah, well, luckily nothing else is being hit, right? Like military coups and stuff.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I just over the weekend, don't forget, there's just a little thing going on in Guinea, not to be compared with Papua New Guinea. Apparently, that's where all of the raw material for aluminum comes from. So, what's that going to do? That's going to impact their aerosol cans or beer cans, for that matter. Oh my God, we're going to run
Oh
out of beer.
no. Whoa.
Get us back to the Corona beer crisis, right? But that's packed in glass, so that's okay.
Yeah, that's true.
But yeah, so we're going to have aluminum shortages. That's going to raise the price. So beer's going up. Aerosol cans will go up. I don't know. It's pretty depressing stuff there. So what good can we tell people about, Mark?
Well, okay. So I have more stuff like that isn't like super good, but we can finish it with a super good thought. But like part of the issue that you and I've been fighting for a long time is people taking advantage of all this stuff, and whether it's price gouging on supply chain issues or whether it's making ludicrous claims on products due to the Delta variant and the fear that exists around that. And you and I found another one making a 1-year claim. Just wave your magic wand and it's good for a year. And we were losing our minds. Like, can you believe people are still trying to do that kind of misinformation regarding something as serious as like the whole COVID thing? And you know, it'd be one thing if they were saying, you know, my stainless steel cleaner is shinier than yours, you know, but that's not hurting anybody technically. But when you're, you know, making claims that are not substantiated regarding things like COVID that can cause death. I mean, 33,000 people died in the last 30 days. That's normally what we'd lose in an entire year during a normal flu season. And we lost that much in 30 days. It's 1,000 people a day. So, you know, when you're making claims about products that, you know, it's good to go for like the next year or two, you know, don't worry about it. Cough and sneeze all you want. It's just amazing that you and I were looking at what the EPA is actually saying.
Yeah, it's very concise and to the point. I mean, so I'll read the one section. We'll put a link for this under the video, as well as this will get posted on germwashing.com. But the EPA regulates the claims on pesticide product labels. EPA registered surface disinfectants kills viruses at the time they are used. That's important. After use, if new viral particles come into contact with the surfaces, a previously applied disinfectant will not protect against those new particles. That's pretty black and white.
Right out of the EPA.
Yep.
And, you know, they're even diving into things that have types of preservatives or pesticides that are actually molded into them.
Yep.
And you know, some of those claims have been around for a long time, and people are twisting all that to believing that it's going to help them with COVID, when back in the day, that was never what they were made for. They were made to eliminate mold and mildew and bacteria that caused odor.
Yeah, it makes sense for trash cans and stuff, mops, maybe stuff like that. But it's not killing anything you're really worried about.
Not killing COVID. Yeah. So and the bottom line in the same EPA article that you're going to have a link to is these articles cannot claim they're effective against viruses and bacteria that cause disease, which means they're not appropriate for controlling COVID-19. That's right there around the EPA site. So,
well, we will continue our fight against the misinformation, fake news.
So how do we, you might be wondering, how do we do our fight? Well, Scott, tell them where they can find the details of our fight.
Germwashing.com, a world-renowned website that was developed by Bullen to put out the information and also point out the misinformation.
Expose the misinformation.
I would have thought, quite honestly, when we put the website together, I figured, well, this can't continue. These people are going to get put out of business by somebody like the EPA, which maybe they are. I mean, everybody's understaffed, but Just seems, I would have thought 6 months ago that we wouldn't even be talking about this anymore because it would be apparent that these people are making false claims and they shouldn't be doing what they're doing, but it still continues.
Well, famous quote, if it sounds too good to be true, it probably is too good to be true.
Yeah.
So anyway,
Well,
you asked me about some positive thoughts, and we got some comments from the last Jancast, and one that we talked about earlier today when we were talking with the team was an Albert Einstein one, which
yeah,
with the crazy hair, and but I loved it. Stay away from negative people. They have a problem for every solution. That's so perfect.
That's a good one. Yeah.
And then we kind of were wrapping it up with something a little more philosophical, like Steve Jobs, who left the earth before his time. He said, "Your time is limited, so don't waste it living someone else's life. Don't be trapped by dogma, which is living with the results of other people's thinking.
Mhm.
Don't let the noise of others' opinions drown out your own inner voice. And more importantly, have the courage to follow your heart and your intuition." Steve Jobs.
Yeah.
I like that a lot.
Good
So,
good way to
nice.
end this week's Jancast. So thank you very much, Mark, and thank you
Thank
for
you,
all
everybody.
that have watched. We will see you in 2 more weeks, and we'll have some good news about who knows what, but maybe the first blizzard of 2021.
Inevitably, we'll come up with some good news.
Yes, I know. Well, thanks a lot for tuning in, folks. Have a great day, week, whatever. See ya.